Good evening, everyone. I'm Revati Haridas, and I'm thrilled to be your moderator for this exciting evening. I am delighted to welcome everyone to a special webinar, Essentials for a Successful Transition from Campus to Corporate by FES Study Abroad. Thank you for being here with us. Let me start with a brief introduction to FES Study Abroad. At FES, we offer study abroad services for students and professionals who want to pursue higher education overseas. We have we have offices in major Indian cities, including Kochi, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata. Our goal is to keep you achieve the dream of studying abroad. We have the knowledge and connection to provide you with the support as you need as you navigate your international education. Whether you're dealing with complex application or adjusting to your new culture, we are here to help you every step of the way. Today's session will offer you a comprehensive insight on preparing yourself for a successful transition from campus to corporate. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Amit, who is a director at Fragomen's Kochi office and oversees Fragomen India's human resource operations and HR professional since 2003. Amit has been actively involved in talent acquisition, engagement and development, strategic initiative, leadership development, and resource planning. He has extensive experience in implementing positive changes while promoting diversity and inclusiveness. Before joining Fragaman, Amit served as the Assistant Director for Talent at Big Four accounting firm and has held HR roles at various sectors, including banking, life science, life insurance, and BPO. Amit holds a master's degree in labor laws and labor welfare from Symbiosis Law School, a postgraduate diploma in HR management from Balaji Institute of Modern Management, and a bachelor's degree in business management from St. Aloysius College. He is fluent in English, Hindi, and Malayalam. We hope you find the session incredibly informative and inspiring. Connect with us on our social media handles for ongoing updates and personalized support. Please note that we will have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. So, if you have any questions or inquiries during the session, feel free to send them via Q&A option. Once again, thank you for joining us. Now, let me welcome Amit to start the session and I'll hand it over to him now. Welcome, Amit.
Hey, thank you, Revati. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I would first of all, before I start, I would like to really congratulate Fragomen Educational Services for putting up such a fantastic webinar, of series of webinars of similar kind. And we are looking, and because of this, students can make active decisions in how they want to shape their career. So, congratulations, FES. So today's topic is essentials for a successful transition from campus to corporate. So let's just jump right in. Now, what does this transition from campus to corporate really mean? Basically, it is just about bridging two worlds, right? You're moving from a particular campus, college campus, which is more structured, which has got its timetables, it has got a fixed agenda, right? And you're moving into a more dynamic corporate world where it's full of action, it's very dynamic, it's ambiguous, it changes all the time, and there's a lot of change management that's involved. So that's going to be something that you will face when you are actually going there. Bridging the two worlds would mean that you are around in the cusp. So you're here, you're about to jump into the next world. So the key challenges that I hear from people moving from campus to corporate has been adapting to the corporate culture. Now it will take time. Like I mentioned earlier, there is ambiguity. There can be a lot of challenges here and there. So and there's going to be a lot of competition as well. So all these things, you're probably on your own there. So that type of culture will take time for you to get adapted to. Having said that, people also find it difficult to balance the technical knowledge with soft skills. It's often found that people with high technical knowledge lack soft skills, and vice versa, where people with nice or very good soft skills struggle with technical knowledge. So that is also another challenge. Similarly, building confidence to perform in a professional setting is also seen as a challenge. Basically, 80% of confidence is performance, is positive performance. So you've seen that if your confidence is high, your performance is good. And if your confidence is not so high, your performance may not be that good. However, we see the opportunity here where if you have the right mindset, and it's all about conditioning your mind, right? So if you condition your mind, if you have the necessary skill sets for what you've applied for, and you have ample preparation, then this transition can be made smoother. Easier said than done, but it is something where all of us, many of us, have been there and done that. The next slide. So this slide is more about statistics, and if you see that 53% of Gen Z, when I say Gen Z, is people born after 1996, they agree that learning helps them explore career paths. So that aspect is about 16% higher in Gen Z than millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers put together. So what we can deduce is that younger workers, particularly Gen Z folks, are more eager for career advancement. And what do companies gain by that? The companies that engage this generation, this Gen Z, by providing ample learning opportunities, and you can tap their passion and you can use them for growth and progress, which is mutual, both for the employee as well as the company. Now, before I go to the next slide, I just want to tell you a story. Just look at it. Just assume. Just picturize this. It's about 6,000 square feet of a big hall. There are about 250 odd students waiting to be interviewed for one of the biggest hotel brands in India, right? And there are 5 positions. So 250 students, 5 positions. And these are from various colleges across Mumbai and Pune. Actually, I'm talking about my story. That was my first campus interview. And this is the daunting task that I had, where I was looking around and seeing 250 odd people who are actually competing for 5 positions, including myself. And this whole process started at 9 a.m. on day 1 and got completed at 2 a.m. on day 2. Now, the whole process is actually technically an elimination process, right? You need 5 people, you have 250. Are you going to select 5 or eliminate 245? It's basically an elimination process. Now, the elimination process could be, and the process used there was JDs, followed by another JD, followed by one interview, and then the final interview. Now, I can tell you that because I went through all these rounds and was part of the top 10 that was shortlisted for the final round, which is the reason why I know the results were declared at 2 a.m. It is another story that I did not finish in the top 5. But what happened was in that period was I learned resilience. It was baptism by fire. So I knew what I was signing up for. I knew what this career is going to be, how my career is going to be. I knew that if I don't adapt, we were all hungry. We were given biscuits and tea during the day. We were told to go ahead and have lunch, but no one was in the mood to miss the action. So nobody went out. So we just biscuits and teas all day. So the resilience, the hunger, the ability, everything is tested. Even our technical knowledge, however prepared you are, the weight can really bear on you. And sometimes it is how you go through these adversity actually gets you there. So with that, I'll jump to the first essential, right? When you are actually going in, yeah, in the next slide, please. Yes. So the first essential when you go in for any interview and your first job, when you are in your first job, you don't really have experience to talk about, right? So it's your technical skills that will carry you forward. So if you have the relevant knowledge and the proficiency, you have the necessary certifications for the role that you've applied for, that will hold you in good stead. Because 80% of your first job, right? 80% of the times, your first job will actually define your career. So what is important is to have that necessary technical skills to do that job, right? So focus on the technical skills, whichever field you are in, you have to have a rounded knowledge of able to hold yourself in a deep conversation on the subject. Yeah. The second essential, which is more on the softer side. So one, we've talked about the technical skills. Now something on the softer side. Again, another important aspect is communication. Um, you have to have the ability to communicate. It does not mean you need to know the English language very well. That's just one aspect of things. But you need to communicate your point. So if you are a technical guy, your technicality has to come out from you and express it with the others so the other person can understand. I had a colleague with me who got a job with the Big Four, not because of his communication in English, it was pretty average, honestly, but his ability to communicate concepts got him the job. So communication is important. Now, teamwork again, these are things that you will see on a daily basis. But when does that really come to the fore? Is now. That's the reason why I'm talking about it. So you need to, because your resume will not have too much of work experience. These softer skills, you will have to have the ability to explain what kind of soft skills that you have developed. Teamwork. Say, suppose you are in sports or you are in a cultural fest and you've been contributing big time. Talk about it. During an interview or during any conversations, keep keep talking about it. Keep focusing on that. Make the other person understand that you've been part of bigger teams and you've contributed well enough. The next two things, problem solving and adaptability. These are two things that you probably, it works hand in hand, right? So problem solving happens when you have the aptitude for identifying issues. Again, these are some things which are easier said than done, but you have to come across as somebody who has done that in the past, or you have to give examples in your life where you've been able to solve the problem, be it say issues between two people and how you got involved and how you got it solved, or somebody had a problem and you got it solved. I'll give you a classic example of adaptability and problem solving. In early part of my career, I went for an interview, and I crossed all the rounds. It was an interview for a consulting firm, and I went to the final round of the interview, and I was meeting the business head. And like I said, I don't have too much of work experience for him to really ask a lot of questions on. So he looked at my resume and he said, "Okay, interest, sports, fantastic. Let me let me ask you a couple of questions on sports." I'm like, "Oh no, why did I write sports in the resume?" And then he said, "Okay, can you tell me five women sports stars that represented India and do not repeat the sport?" So if I've mentioned A for athletics, I can't mention B for athletics because I'm repeating the sport. So I have to think of five different sports and five women who've represented India. And I was just looking blank because this is about 20 years ago. So I was looking at him and I was like, okay, let me name the sports first. So I said, and thankfully at that point of time, maybe because of my interest in sports, I mentioned Aparna Popat, who was part of badminton, Nirupama Vaidyanathan, who was part of tennis and represented India. Preeti Usha naturally comes to you because she's been spoken about since 1984. And the fourth one is cricket. And thankfully, because I was in Mumbai, there was this lady called Diana Idalji, who was the captain of the Indian cricket team till the early 90s. So I stopped at four and I was thinking, now I don't have the fifth one. What do I do? Then I look straight into his eye and I say, Sukhbir Kaur, hockey. Now, I will tell you that I was actually making up Sukhbir Kaur. There was no Sukhbir Kaur, but I had to think on my feet. I had to adapt, right? I needed to give him those five names. There was no Google at that time, so he's not going to be googling and finding out um, who is Sukhbir Kaur. And hockey at that time, especially women's hockey, was dominated by the girls from Punjab. So most of them had Kaur as their second name. So I just confidently, as if I knew it, I just spoke. And then he looked at me and then he said, "Well done." Okay. And then, so, um, and I got the job. Yes, people think that I didn't take it up. But the thing is that the opportunities for you to adapt or to think on your feet, you probably have to take it. You'll have to adapt to it. And that's what thinking on your feet is, or that is what adaptability is. You need to have the willingness to adapt to the environment. Yes. The third thing is the third essential when you're really moving from campus to corporate is work ethic. Work ethic, and all the more reason why it is something which is very essential because most of the new gen organizations look at reliability and attention to detail. It's something which now all employees have to exhibit. In the past, you could compromise on such traits, but today you got to be somebody who's dependable. You got to be somebody who's taking initiative. You got to be somebody whose attention will be able. Because if you don't, somebody else will. So it is important for you to prove to in your conversations when you're having during the interview or maybe when you're having a conversation which is more social in nature, but you could probably have an opportunity elsewhere because you're trying to impress somebody. It is important that you focus on such points because that will give you hold you in good stead when you're really looking to get in a good opportunity. Another important aspect of, of actually getting into a corporate for the first time is the cultural fit. And when I say cultural fit, it is more now, and employers have become very choosy with the kind of people they take. With social media being so rampant, it is very easy to demean an organization or bad publicity is easier than good publicity. So a lot of employers are now focusing on how do we hire the right fit from a cultural standpoint. And a lot of times you will get questions that are asked to you which you think is very generic, but actually they're actually evaluating your culture, whether you will be a great fit within the organization, whether you'll get along with the kind of people they have. So those are the kind of questions they may ask. What you can do is probably do a little bit of research about the organization, right? Company values are always mentioned in every company's website. Do take a look, and you will see that 80% of the organizations will have innovation and will have integrity as part of their company values. So do be prepared to talk about a little bit about what innovation you can do or what you've done before. And your integrity is something which is a natural virtue that you have, and you can always harp on it when you're speaking. So it's important to show that interpersonal skills. Again, I come to that primarily because you need to contribute to a positive work environment. But what is more important is whether you're able to have that alignment with the company's mission and values. The fifth essential, now you are going in as somebody who is relatively new to the industry. So you may not have too much of experience, but anything, any internship, any part-time jobs, any voluntary work you've done, which comes out, which brings out the personality in you, is very important because that will probably give you the edge over another applying candidate, right? So any internships you've done, any work experience, any pro bono activity you've done, you've supported anyone, you've helped people, you've done something which probably you've not taken money for, but you've done so that you enrich your experience. Go ahead and do it. It's very important to be very tech savvy also. When we were going into the corporate world, our tech savviness was on the basis of how good we were in Excel, Word, PowerPoint. These are the things that we were checked on, right? The current tech savviness is probably more on social media, how you've behaved on social media, how professionally you use social media, how much connects you've built, how many people you have reached out to, how many people you would like to make mentors of. So these are the things now where a lot of organizations will focus on. Probably may not ask you directly, but during the interview, if you get an opportunity, you should put forward this so that you get more questions on this on these topics, and then you can guide the interview to the way you want it to be. Right. Learning attitude and professionalism. This is again something which a lot of organizations today, I think this has been there for 20, 25 years now. I've been hearing this all the time. A lot of organizations, especially when it comes to hiring people fresh out of campus, they look for attitude. because you can train for attitude, you can train for skills, but you cannot train for attitude. Attitude is something which is inherent. So it is important for you to show that you have that inherent need to continue learning. You have that ability to take feedback when given to you. You are presentable. You have a good demeanor. You have a very eager look. I want to work kind of look, and you have a strong sense of ethics. And when you say a strong sense of ethics, is when you're having conversations, you should be talking about how positive you have been, or how good you've been as an individual, from the values perspective. Another very important aspect, when you are now in the current day and age of social media, is your networking skills. And when I say that, is not many people really look out for how much you've networked or how many people you've connected per se. What they're looking for, what probably they're looking is how have you ever tried to build connects with people who are relevant to your career? Have you reached out to people? Have you engaged with them at any networking chance that you've got? Any um, any talks or public talks you've attended? Um, you know, have you reached out to somebody? Have you used social media sites? LinkedIn is a very, very powerful site there where you can build connections. You can also ask people to be their mentors. You can really ask for mentors so that you can really ask questions. A lot of people are, even mentioning on their LinkedIn page that they are open to mentorship, or they're open to assistance for pro bono or for free, I mean, without any charge. So you can always use such skills for you to really build a network in this industry, because that is not only to get an entry into the corporate world, but it also help you sustain in the corporate world. Another important aspect is the global perspective. Today, a lot of the organizations are all multinational organizations, people with offices with offices. Organizations with multiple offices across the globe, right? So there are different cultures, right? We have to be aware of the different cultures in different locations. For example, working long hours could be a culture in one country, but an absolute no-no somewhere else. Shaking somebody's hand may be common, or hugging somebody is common in one country, but may not be common in another country. So we have to be careful when we are having our interactions, our communication, how we speak. We need to have that cultural awareness, and we have to exhibit that in our interactions. Additionally, a language skill, knowing an additional language is always an advantage, especially in an environment where you're joining a multinational organization and they have offices in multiple locations. It will help you, sustain yourself better than somebody else who does not know another language. So that, in short, is what I had for you. It's more of certain tips. These are certain things which are, it's not rocket science, honestly. Getting in there, but getting there, once you're in there, to sustain yourself is something that is very important. And what I just mentioned are some things you may know, but where to apply them is the most important thing. So I'm open to questions. Back to you, Revati.
Thank you, Amit. It was very interesting with all your experiences that you faced. Yeah, we have already received a few questions, and we encourage everyone to keep submitting any thoughts or inquiries you have. Let's dive into some of the questions. How can students who have studied abroad leverage their international experience to stand out during the transition to corporate world is one of the questions from the audience.
Can you repeat that? How can
Students who have studied abroad leverage their international experience to stand out during their transitions to the corporate world?
So, as we've spoken earlier, somebody who's been abroad and probably has come back to India or probably stayed back there has the cultural experience, right, of two different locations, right? You know how the function works how the people work in one country as well as the host where the country that you've gone to study as well. So that will hold you in good stead because you will begin to understand culture, you will begin to understand, you get the exposure on how to deal with people, how to interact with people. So that experience is very important. And if you're really coming back to India with that experience, it gives you an additional fillip when you're actually applying for opportunities locally because you're coming with a much more better know-how, and a lot of organizations today in India have internationals abroad. So you get the additional you get the advantage of knowing another country, and probably you get that job primarily because you've been in that country.
Okay, thank you, Amit. We have like 3 interesting questions again. So a person has asked, like, what are the common mistakes candidates make during the interviews?
Yeah, that's a good question. Uh, it actually depends. Now, what I have noticed is candidates try to oversell, right? They try to oversell themselves. You got to draw the fine line when you are talking about your skill set, right? You don't have to sound desperate, right? You got to sound confident. But a lot of times, you just keep talking about I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, and you try to do a hard sell, which sometimes is a big turnoff for a recruiting manager because what they want is somebody who's eager to learn and adapt to this organization and not just come and tell what you know, right? There is a section in the interview there you probably will have where you can talk about what you know. But I think what you need to more show is that you're willing to learn, you're willing to adapt, you're willing to do anything within that space, and that's you're looking just for a learning experience, and that will be much more easier for the. I mean, that person, the attitude comes across as much more, where people will probably like you more. The likability value goes up. Another thing I think that people don't people when the mistakes they make is sometimes they don't listen to the whole question, right? Um, their eagerness, and it's not because they don't want to listen. It's just that their eagerness to answer the question. So sometimes when you ask the question, they will just jump and try to answer quickly, and you might actually make a mess of the whole answer. And your good intentions will be converted to negative ones if you're not really listening to the whole question.
Yeah, following that, we have a question like, how can I demonstrate confidence without appearing arrogant? I think even I do that.
No, so it's no. I'll tell you, the arrogance and confidence is a very fine line, right? When you are talking with conviction, with a smile on your face, it is confidence. But if you talk with conviction, with a little smirk on your face, or if you don't smile or if you're talking too much, then that becomes arrogance. That's why I say it's a very fine line. Everybody is eager to talk. Everybody is eager to put what they have in front of the reviewer. So take me is the general. Uh, that's what you're there for, right? But what you got to do is sound confident with a smile rather than sound confident with a smirk. Because once you do that, that smirk becomes arrogance or is perceived as arrogance. May not be actually, but is perceived as arrogance.
I think I've saved by my smile. I'm proud of it now. Yeah. So there is one more question. A person has asked, like, if we are asked a question we do not have an answer to, how do we manage that? You have already given a live example, but then if we could
No, so I
give.
think I was just thinking on my feet at that point of time. I by no means I'm encouraging you to um, to to fake an answer. It's just about thinking on the feet because when I did say that also, I probably guessed that he also knew that I was just being when he said good, it could mean two things. Maybe he thought that I said the right answer, or maybe he thought that I was thinking on my feet and knowing that he can't go and cross verify. give him an answer which probably is that way. But in today's day and age, you can't do all that because you can be immediately fact checked. So I wouldn't encourage that. It is easy. It is actually very simple. You just have to say, I don't know the answer, because it is all right. You don't have to be a superstar, right? You don't have to be the person with all the knowledge. Technically, in our system, you need to know where to look for knowledge, right? It's not about what if you know it by heart, right? If you're a lawyer, you don't need to know the sections numbers by heart. But if somebody talks about a particular problem within the law, you need to know where to refer to. So which section do I need to open, or which part of the book I need to open and search? That is more important than really knowing which section it is. So that is why, if you don't know something, it is all right to say, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to it right now. And thank you for asking me that question, because I'll go back and refer to it. Yeah. But if you keep saying I don't know to all the questions they ask, then probably yes, somebody else should get the opportunity.
Yeah. I think we have two more questions. What should I research about the company before the interview?
Good. Yeah. So now everything about the company is in public domain, right? You can just Google the company and you will get all the information. So when you are going for to any interview, right? And if you have a choice, be sure or make sure whatever is available to you, any financial um, status of the organization, what are they into, what are they investing in, what are their core values. Do that. Do understand all that, and that is not for you to really go there and throw it up there to the interviewer. You don't have to, but it's for you to gain the knowledge, because you can base certain answers that you have. Like, if I do want to join our organization, most of the times is asked that question. So you can then put something there where you can use some of this information. I've heard about your CEO. He's been giving a lot of seminars, and I've heard about him, and he speaks very well. He's so confident. I would like to join an organization which he's leading. So these are kind of information that you can gather, right? You should look at the values of the organization. I mentioned about this earlier, because they're looking at a cultural fit. You need to align to that culture. If you're going to join that organization, you need to speak about the culture, speak a couple of words which are very common for the person interviewing you. If you drop those words, he will naturally get comfortable with you. So use that. So those are the things that you need to probably understand more about the organization. But if you're really very interested, you can go into the financials, you can go into what news they are making, and also find out which locations they are available in, and all those things. That's just for your knowledge, so that at any point of time during your conversation, the interview, you can use these.
Okay. Yes, we have one more question for now. How to gather your wits before an interview?
Yeah. Okay. Now, gathering wits basically is to go prepared. Now, 95% of the time, when you go for an interview, we are so tensed and we are so nervous, and we are always prepared actually when we are going. But once you get there, suddenly you feel blanked out, and then how to gather your wits becomes a very good question. If you ask me, and again, easier said than done, but I can tell you through experience, when you're going for an interview, keep in mind that you're always going for a conversation, right? A conversation. Treat it as a conversation. It's not the end of the world. Even if you don't get the opportunity, you should always remind yourself there are many companies out there, a lot of them, and somebody will give you an opportunity. Don't worry. So when you are going, go there for the learning, go there for the understanding, go there for a conversation. And if you have that mindset when you're actually having a conversation, you will not put yourself under a lot of pressure. But if you go there thinking that, this is what I need, I need to crack this. If I don't crack this, I don't know what's going to happen to me or my career. Don't worry. With experience, I can tell you, there will be opportunities knocking on your door. What you need to do is just be ready mentally that you are going to have 5 or 6 conversations like this before I get the good one. And then fate will take care of it, the rest of it.
Yeah. That was really nice, Amit. I don't think we have any other question. So we'll wind up the session now.
Okay.
Yeah, once again, thank you all for joining us today and for your thoughtful questions. We hope the session provided you invaluable insights and obviously interesting. Um, Stay connected with us on our social media platform, and for more details, visit our website at fesstudyabroad.com and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.